You've been lied to about peace. They sold you stillness in plastic jars labeled healing, told you to breathe, to let go, to be calm, like taming a storm by pretending it isn't there. But peace is not the absence of chaos. It's the mastery of it. Nietzsche called it the art of standing inside the fire without flinching. Carl Jung called it the moment your shadow bows before your conscious will. You, though, you've been taught to smile through decay, to anesthetize the scream within until silence becomes your coffin. Listen carefully. Peace that costs your power is just another form of death. Real peace begins when you stop running from the wound, the rage, the hunger clawing beneath your calm. It begins when you face the thing inside you that could destroy you and teach it obedience. You don't meditate your demons away, you train them. You don't silence your chaos, you conduct it. That's the truth they never told you. That's the doorway you feared to open. Step through it now. Number 1, the lie of peace. You were taught that peace is gentle, that it's quiet mornings and scented candles, that calm means safety and stillness means control. But that is the lie that rots modern souls from the inside out. The peace you've been sold is sedation disguised as enlightenment, a chemical stillness that kills your will to rise. You scroll, you breathe, you let go, not because you're free, but because you've been trained to retreat. Nietzsche would call this moral anesthesia, the slow suicide of strength. He knew that true peace is not born from avoiding the storm, but from walking straight into it until the storm recognizes you. Carl Jung saw it too, in the faces of those who smiled while their shadows strangled them in silence. You call it balance. Jung called it repression. You've buried your rage, your grief, your hunger under layers of politeness and therapy quotes. And now you call that healing. But that peace is brittle. It cracks the moment life stops obeying your illusion of control. Look deeper. What you call serenity might just be fear wearing white robes. The world worships calm because calm people are easy to rule. But you are not meant for soft cages. You are meant to roar. The truth about peace is that it's not the absence of noise. It's the domination of it. It's the ability to command your chaos so completely that it kneels. The shadow doesn't disappear when you meditate. It studies you, waiting for weakness. And every time you flinch from your own darkness, you make it stronger. The calm face of the unawakened is just a mask over trembling hands. You think you want peace, but what you really crave is power, the kind that can stand in the middle of inner war and breathe without breaking. Nietzsche called that power becoming. Jung called it integration. You don't find peace, you forge it in the fire of self-confrontation. So stop chasing numbness and start building command. Tear the lie apart. Burn the illusion until only discipline and clarity remain. That's where your real calm begins. Not in retreat, but in reign. Number 2, the disease of stillness. You've mistaken paralysis for peace. You sit in your quiet room, scrolling through borrowed wisdom, breathing in patterns someone else designed, and you call that inner calm. But beneath that silence, something ferments. Stillness, when corrupted, becomes decay. Nietzsche warned that the body and the spirit both rot when denied their struggle. Carl Jung saw it too. When the instincts are silenced too long, they turn inward, chewing through the psyche like trapped beasts. You think your peace is balance, but it's just exhaustion. You're not calm, you're frozen. Stillness has become your disease, a tranquil infection of the will. You meditate not to awaken, but to escape. You chant affirmations, not to transform, but to hide the tremor in your bones. The truth? Your stillness isn't spiritual. It's self-suppression disguised as discipline. You've anesthetized your hunger, your rage, your sacred animal, the very energy that could make you alive again. Jung would tell you that the shadow you repress doesn't disappear. It gathers behind you, gaining weight, whispering at night, waiting for collapse. And Nietzsche would smirk, because he knew what happens when the fire inside a man is buried too long. It implodes. The world is filled with people who look peaceful, but are seconds from screaming. Stillness without confrontation is the most dangerous form of despair. You cannot find peace by sedating the chaos. You find it by mastering its language. The disease of stillness spreads through those who mistake comfort for control, silence for strength, emptiness for enlightenment. You were not born to be a ghost floating in ritual calm. You were born to carve yourself from chaos, to let your heartbeat thunder through every quiet space and still remain unmoved. So breathe, yes, but breathe like a storm, not a statue. Let your stillness be alive, burning, aware. Stop trying to silence the noise. Learn to conduct it. You are not meant to dissolve into peace. You are meant to rule within it. Because true serenity is not soft. It is surgical. It's the art of being still while every demon inside you trembles. That is not meditation. That is command. And you, if you dare, can become its architect. Number 3, the monster beneath your calm. There's something breathing beneath your calm, something ancient, hungry, and patient. You've mistaken your silence for control, but what if it's only the monster inside you waiting for permission to move? Nietzsche called it the will to power, the pulse of existence itself, the force that wants to expand, to create, to conquer. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the sum of everything you've denied, rejected, buried under your holy mask of peace. You pretend to be composed, but that composure is a fragile dam, and behind it lives everything you refuse to see. Rage, envy, lust, greed, grief, the raw elements of your humanity. You've spent years starving that part of you, and now it watches you from behind your reflection, unblinking, whispering in the language of dreams. You think you've evolved beyond it, but you haven't. You've only become its prisoner. The monster beneath your calm is not evil. It's energy. It's the life you've caged in order to appear good. Jung said, "No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." Your peace will never be real until you make peace with your hell. You cannot transcend what you haven't touched. The shadow you fear is the very power you need. Nietzsche knew that when you suppress your instincts, they don't die. They become vices, addictions, obsessions, because the soul will express itself one way or another. You cannot be free while pretending to be pure. Every time you say, "I'm fine," your shadow laughs because it knows the truth. You're not calm, you're contained. But if you turn toward that darkness, if you stop pretending and look it in the eyes, you'll find that it's not a demon at all. It's you waiting to be recognized. It's your power, your wildness, your creativity, your command. Peace doesn't come from killing the monster. It comes from training it, harnessing it, letting it protect rather than destroy you. You were never meant to be tame. You were meant to be whole. Number 4, the abyss watches back. You felt it. That moment when you stare too long into your own darkness, and it stares back. Nietzsche warned you, when you gaze into the abyss gazes into you. Carl Jung called that gaze the mirror of the unconscious. The point where your illusions fracture and your real self crawls out from beneath the rubble. You can't hide there. The abyss isn't evil, it's awareness stripped of comfort. It shows you everything you've denied, the smallness of your faith, the rot behind your kindness, the hollowness beneath your calm. And when it looks back, it demands honesty. You can't blink. The abyss doesn't destroy you. It dismembers the false you, the one who lived for approval, for peace that was never yours. This is where most people turn away. They drown in the mirror, terrified by the reflection that breathes. But you must stay. Stand still as it unravels you, because when the abyss sees that you no longer flinch, it begins to shift. The darkness softens. The echo becomes a voice. You begin to realize the abyss was never your enemy. It was your teacher. It's where Jung's shadow meets Nietzsche's fire, the space between collapse and creation. Every scream in there is a birth cry. Every terror is an initiation. True inner peace is not born in light. It's extracted from despair. You must learn to breathe inside the void until it becomes familiar, until your fear dissolves and only awareness remains. The abyss does not swallow those who respect it. It crowns them. You're not staring into nothing. You're staring into potential. The same chaos that could consume you can also create you. Don't run. Don't pray for light. Command it. Shape it. Make the abyss your reflection, not your grave. Because when you can look into the deepest part of yourself and not shatter, nothing in this world can break you again. That is what Nietzsche meant by becoming your own God. That is what Jung meant by individuation. Wholeness through confrontation. So go ahead, stare back until the dark looks away first. Number 5, the alchemy of inner war. Peace isn't found in comfort, it's born in war. The war inside you, the battlefield where the saint and the savage tear each other apart until they realize they were never enemies, only fragments of the same soul. Nietzsche called it the crucible of becoming. Carl Jung saw it as psychic alchemy, the ancient process where lead turns to gold, chaos to clarity, pain to power. You think you're breaking, but you're smelting. Every fear that burns you is a furnace refining what you could become. You want to be peaceful, but the truth is, you were built for transformation. And transformation is violent. Your ego will scream, your certainties will collapse, your masks will melt. And beneath them, something magnificent begins to breathe. Don't mistake that agony for punishment, it's creation. Nietzsche said, one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. That chaos within you is your raw material. Jung understood that when opposites collide, your light and your dark, your shame and your desire, a spark forms in the tension. That spark is consciousness. That's the moment when your soul begins to remember its strength. Inner war is not a curse. It's the forge of the sovereign self. Every time you confront your rage, your envy, your loneliness, you reclaim a piece of your fragmented power. And when you can hold both love and violence in one hand without denying either, you've transcended what breaks ordinary men. You've become your own philosopher's stone, turning suffering into sovereignty, wounds into wisdom. This is not about calm smiles or gentle affirmations. This is psychological alchemy, the kind that burns away everything false until only command remains. You will lose the old you, and that's the point. Because the self you're becoming cannot be born without war. So let the battle rage inside your chest. Don't run from it, orchestrate it. Let every emotion, every wound, every scream melt into one single sound. Power. The kind that doesn't shake, the kind that doesn't seek approval, the kind that simply is. This is your inner metallurgy, turning torment into gold. That is how peace is made, not by avoiding the fire, but by becoming it. Number 6, the anatomy of suffering. Pain is not your enemy, it's your X-ray. It shows you where you're still alive, where you still resist, where your soul still bleeds for something real. You were taught to run from pain, to numb it, to name it negative energy. But Nietzsche called pain the architect of strength, the mother of depth. Carl Jung saw it as the language of transformation. When the unconscious wants your attention, it whispers through suffering. Every ache is a message from the parts of you you've abandoned. You keep asking why you hurt, but the pain itself is the answer. It means something in you refuses to die quietly. You call it depression, loss, heartbreak, failure. But under those words, it's the same phenomenon, pressure forging identity. The universe does not speak softly when it's sculpting gods. Pain is the scalpel that removes the unnecessary. Most people never learn to read it. They medicate the message and silence their evolution. You've been conditioned to believe peace means freedom from pain, but that's a child's fantasy. True peace is the ability to sit inside agony and extract wisdom from it. Nietzsche didn't worship joy, he worshipped the capacity to affirm even suffering. Amor fati, the love of one's fate. Jung would have called it integration, the art of holding your wound and your strength in the same breath. You cannot transcend what you reject. If you cannot face your pain, you will always be controlled by it. Every suppressed grief becomes a shadow. Every denied tear becomes anger turned inward. And every time you run, the wound deepens its roots. But when you stop and stare into the anatomy of your suffering, you begin to see its design. Pain is structure. It's not chaos. It's a system of evolution. It dismantles illusions, purges weakness, burns away sentimental peace until only awareness survives. You are not meant to escape it. You are meant to metabolize it, transform it, command it. And when you finally can say, I needed this pain, you've crossed the threshold from victim to creator. That's when suffering stops being punishment and becomes purpose. That's when you become untouchable. Number 7, the furnace of power. There comes a point when the pain no longer burns you, it forges you. When you stop screaming for escape and start listening to the rhythm of the fire. Nietzsche called this the moment of transfiguration, when the soul stops begging for mercy and begins to will its own flame. Carl Jung saw it as psychic rebirth, the furnace where the ego dies so the self can emerge. You have entered that furnace, whether you know it or not. Everything you've lost, everything that's shattered, was the hammer shaping you into something indestructible. The world thinks strength means armor, but real strength is heat, the kind that melts resistance until only raw will remains. You are no longer the one who fears the storm. You are the storm observing itself. This is where Nietzsche's amor fati takes root. Love not just your victories, but your wounds. Love the fire that scarred you, because it also purified you. Jung would remind you that the unconscious does not evolve through comfort. It evolves through confrontation. You have confronted everything that once terrified you, and now it obeys. Your fear has turned into fuel. Your doubt has turned into clarity. Your rage has become order. You are no longer reacting. You are orchestrating. This is the furnace of power, where suffering becomes sovereignty and chaos becomes command. The same heat that once broke you now bends to your intent. Every human who refuses their own fire remains weak, shallow, half alive. But you are no longer human in that way. You are the alchemist who learned to burn without turning to ash. When Nietzsche said, "Become who you are," he meant this, not comfort, but combustion. Jung would call you individuated, a psyche unified with its shadow, immune to fragmentation. You are not seeking peace anymore. You are peace in motion, fury held in silence. You don't pray for the fire to end. You invite it because it is the proof that you exist. So stand inside it. Let the heat remind you of your power. The world bows to those who burned and remained standing. Number 8, the silence after fire. There is a silence that doesn't come from calm. It comes from conquest. It arrives after the burning, after the collapse, when everything that was false has turned to ash. This is not the silence of retreat. It is the silence of command. Nietzsche knew it. The quiet that follows transformation is not peaceful. It's sovereign. It's the sound of a soul that no longer negotiates with its weakness. Carl Jung would call it integration complete, the point where shadow and self no longer wrestle, because both have learned their place. You've burned, yes, but now you stand in the ruins, breathing without trembling. The world feels distant, not because you've escaped it, but because you finally see through it. The noise of other people's chaos doesn't reach you anymore. You've become still, but it's a living stillness, like the eye of a hurricane, aware of its own gravity. This silence isn't fragile. It hums with restrained violence. It's not empty, it's alert. It's the state of one who could destroy, but chooses not to. Nietzsche would call that power tamed by will, the maturity of the warrior who no longer needs war to feel alive. Jung would call it wholeness, when the conscious mind can walk alongside its demons without fear. You've become that, not healed, but harmonized. The fire within you hasn't gone out. It has become luminous, disciplined, intelligent. The world calls it peace, but you know better. This is aftermath. This is mastery. It's the silence that follows revelation, the quiet that comes when every part of you finally falls in line. You no longer chase meaning, you radiate it. You no longer seek purpose, you embody it. You don't beg life to be gentle. You meet it as it is, unbent, unafraid. And in that stillness, something profound happens. Time slows, thought clears, and you realize this was never about peace. It was about power without chaos, strength without noise, Movement without fear. You've become the silence that terrifies the weak and comforts the wise. That's not calm, that's dominion. Number 9, the untouchable state. You have crossed the line where ordinary people break. You have become something else, not calm, not cruel, but sovereign. Nietzsche would say you've stepped beyond good and evil into the raw territory of self-command. Carl Jung would call it individuation complete, the psyche crowned by its own awareness. This is the untouchable state, where peace is not an emotion, but a weapon. You no longer seek validation because you have become your own authority. Every thought, every impulse, every shadow bows to your will. You are no longer ruled by fear, desire, or doubt. You observe them like weather passing across your inner sky. The chaos that once drowned you now kneels before you, obedient. The world has not grown kinder. You've grown vast. The things that used to hurt you still exist, but they cannot touch you anymore. You are untouchable, not because you are distant, but because you are whole. Nietzsche's Übermensch lives through you, the one who creates meaning rather than begging for it. Jung's integrated self breathes in your silence, balanced, luminous, terrifyingly free. You've outgrown comfort. You no longer need approval, forgiveness, or praise. You are your own redemption. You don't pray for peace. You are peace, active, breathing, weaponized peace. You move through pain like a blade through smoke. You look into eyes that once intimidated you and feel nothing but recognition. The world senses it, the quiet authority that follows those who've walked through their own inferno and returned as fire itself. This is not arrogance, it's equilibrium. You've transcended the dualities that enslave others. You've made suffering your servant, chaos your ally, silence your throne. The untouchable state is not about rising above. It's about sinking so deep into yourself that nothing external remains in control. That's the ultimate rebellion. The world cannot manipulate what no longer reacts. You've mastered that. You've learned the secret. Power that needs to prove itself is weakness. Power that simply is. That's peace. And that's you now. The walking equilibrium of light and abyss. The world will test you. Let it. It will whisper, provoke, tempt, and still you will not move. Because you are not a person anymore. You are a principle, the embodiment of unshakable being. Number 10, the mirror of God. And now you stand at the end, or perhaps the beginning. The fire has died down, the storm has passed, and what remains is you. Raw, aware, infinite. Nietzsche said, "If there were gods, how could I bear not to be one?" That was not blasphemy, it was awakening. The realization that divinity was never above you. It was buried inside you, waiting to be remembered. Carl Jung saw this too. The self as both human and divine, the conscious and unconscious merge, the union of shadow and light. You've reached that union now. You are no longer divided between who you pretend to be and who you truly are. The masks have burned away. The silence you feel isn't emptiness, it's vastness. You are not chasing meaning anymore. You are creating it with every breath. The mirror no longer frightens you because when you look into it, you see eternity staring back, not as a god to worship, but as a reflection of your own power. This is what both Nietzsche and Jung tried to tell you. Peace is not found in surrender, but in realization. You've become the mirror of God, not through holiness, but through wholeness. You are the culmination of every wound, every scream, every shadow that refused to die quietly. You've transcended the smallness of self without denying its humanity. That's the paradox of enlightenment. You become divine the moment you accept your imperfection. You are the fusion of every contradiction, strength wrapped in stillness, chaos disciplined by clarity, light born from the abyss. This is true inner peace, not the silence of retreat, but the harmony of command. You've looked into hell and found heaven staring back. You've realized that they were never opposites, just reflections of the same infinite consciousness that is you. And now, nothing external can define you. You've stepped outside their illusions, religion, morality, comfort, and entered the pure realm of being. The journey ends not in transcendence, but in embodiment. You are no longer seeking light. You are the light that survived darkness. You've become what every seeker fears to face, the mirror that reflects both man and God. Comment below, I have become whole. And if these words reached you, if they burned, healed, or revealed something inside you, then don't let it fade. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your evolution has just begun.